Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. A very warm welcome to today's session. Warm welcome to all of my centres and a warm welcome to any of Anthony and Muno's centres who might be joining us today. Today's session, we are looking at the Level 3, Level 4 and Level 5 diplomas in computing, the January 2024 version, which has just been introduced. Throughout the session, we're going to go through these following points. So we're going to look at the qualification overview for each of the different qualifications. We're going to look at the entry requirements. We'll begin by looking quite generally at assessments and how it works, any changes that have occurred. And then when we go into the program structure for each of the individual diplomas, we'll look at the assessments for those. We'll talk about progression, and then I'll give some reminders about the upcoming webinars that we've got planned over the next 12 months. So we'll begin with the qualification overview. So let's start with the Level 3 Diploma in Computing. So as with our current version, we are still using it as a bridging qualification to introduce students to the field of computing and to give them the skills and the competencies that they're going to need either to continue their studies or to go into the workplace. In terms of the credits, so the total number of units is 5 units. Students must complete all 5 and then they will gain 60 credits. And given that it's 60 credits, it's a 6-month duration on this qualification. We'll be going into the detail of the different units a little bit later. For the Level 4 Diploma in Computing and the Computing with Business Management, they would make up what is essentially the first year of a computing pathway. So either the first year with NCC education, or it's also equivalent to the first year in a UK university degree. And that's the same for both the Diploma in Computing and the Diploma in Computing with Business Management. So this time there are 8 units in total, making up 120 credits, and therefore it is an academic year to deliver this qualification. So what the qualification does, it builds on if they have studied at level 3, but also, it's obviously giving the knowledge and the skills needed, giving detail and exposure to the students that they can build on, more advanced topics than they've studied in the past at level 3 and level 4. And it is equivalent to the second year of a degree pathway. So either the second year studying on the NCC pathway, or it's equivalent to the second year of a UK university degree. So there are actually now 4 different pathways that can be pursued with the level 5 diploma in computing. So that's something that's changed. So we still have the level 5 diploma in computing. We still have computing with business management. We still have computing with cybersecurity, but our latest one is the computing with data science. Whichever version they're choosing, by the time they've completed the 6 units, they would have done 120 credits, and it takes an academic year to deliver that. So all of our computing diplomas, level 3, 4 and 5, are all Ofqual regulated. That's our regulator in England, and qualifications in Wales. So what that means is that we are having to adhere to quite stringent standards and criteria, and we're being monitored by them to ensure that we're doing so. So in return, we also monitor yourselves and make sure that you're following our stringent standards. So it's kind of a reassuring point for students to know that they are being, not only part of the NCC family, but they also have a wider organisation, regulatory body who's looking at the qualification as well. So in terms of entry requirements, for the level 3 diploma in computing, as I mentioned before, it's a bridging qualification between completing high school and beginning university. So what high school completion looks like is different in different countries. So we have created a benchmark. So the benchmark for that is that students would need to have 4 subjects passed at GCSE level. So that's GCSE, IGCSE, or O level, or equivalent. And that those 4 subjects should include maths and English. So when I say or equivalent, it means that when you're looking at the different countries, we are looking at that to see whether that qualification is equivalent to a GCSE. And your academic standards manager can help you with that, can talk to you about equivalence and whether that is the case. So the things that are different now since we've introduced this new version is that we're giving a bit more flexibility. So for example, in terms of the mathematics, if a student does not have a GCSE or equivalent pass at mathematics, then we have now introduced this option where you can do a maths placement test. This placement test is used if the student passes that, then we know that they are okay. They can actually start the qualification. But the other point is that you would use that placement test to identify areas of weakness, areas that you as a centre are going to need to support the student so that they will be able to successfully complete the maths unit. Another change that we have introduced is that, actually this isn't a change, this has always been the case, that we have other equivalents to the GCSE English pass, which could be a 5.5, a valid 5.5 certificate in IELTS, or the student might have something that's equivalent to that. You know, they might have done Duolingo or TOEFL or something like that. So you can, if it's equivalent to a 5.5, then the student would be able to be entered onto the qualification. Or the final option is that we do have our own in-house placement test, our NCC Higher English Placement Test. So you could use this to see whether the student is eligible. You would simply request from your customer support that you would like some logins for that. They would provide you with student logins so that you can they can do the online aspects of the test. They provide you with teacher logins so that you can do the part that needs a teacher to administer it. They give you a guide on how to do that and the mark scheme that you will use to mark that. And if a student passes that, then we know that that is equivalent to a 5.5 in IELTS. So the qualification is suitable for students aged 16 to 19, as well as older students as well. So since we've introduced these different kind of flexibility, what we've tried to do is give you some scenarios so that you can understand how this would work in practice. So let's look at these examples. Let's start with student A. So in the case of student A, this is quite straightforward. This is kind of what most centres are probably used to already. The student has 4 passes at GCSE. So in the UK, a pass is a C, or sometimes known as a 4. So you can see that the student has 4 passes and that those passes include maths and English. So straightforward, the student can successfully enter onto L3DC. In the case of student B, they have 3 passes, but when it comes to the English, they can't produce a pass for that. But what they do have is a valid IELTS certificate with a minimum score of 5.5. Therefore, that student is also able to enter onto L3DC. In the case of student C, what they don't have this time is a pass in mathematics. So you as a centre would administer the maths pre-placement test. When they pass that, they are eligible, but you're also using that test to identify what support you're going to need to put in to help this student to be able to pass the maths unit. And then they can successfully enter onto L3DC. The final example, the student cannot produce a pass for English or for maths. So in this scenario, you do the maths placement test. Again, if they pass that, they are eligible. You've also identified where you need to support them. They can do our NCC Education Higher English Placement Test, and that once they pass that, they are again eligible. So these are kind of the different scenarios that hopefully will clarify that for you. So just to clarify that this is for entry onto NCC Education's Level 3 DC. This is not something to do with their progression if they're planning to go to university or something like that afterwards. That's something that you as a centre and the student would need to research what the specific entry requirements for those institutions are. In terms of the maths placement test, we do have a version that we have created that's available on the VLE for you to use and for you to be using now. So you can go on the VLE and look in the document section, you'll be able to find this. If you use this and the student passes, NCC is satisfied with that. If you choose to use your own version, then please, you would need to contact your academic standards manager at first, and you would need to, check that the test has been approved, that it's okay for you to use that. So please do that before you start using something different. And I'm also showing an image here of our English language requirement. So this is something that will help you when you're making decisions about equivalency with IELTS. So that if a student has done a different language test, you can compare that with in the chart and see if it's the same as a 5.5, and it tells you, whether they're eligible or not. So again, that's available on the VLE for you to have a look at. For entry requirements onto L4DC and L4DCBM, so if a student has completed one of our NCC Education Level 3 diplomas, then they're fine. So they might have done the IFD, or they might have done the computing. If they want to do Level 4 Diploma in Computing with Business Management, then if they've done the L3DB, then that's fine as well. They may have done something that's equivalent to the level 3, maybe from another awarding body or something locally. Again, you'd need to check this with your academic standards manager just to make sure that we do deem it to be equivalent, and if it is, then they'd be able to progress on to level 4. We also accept students who have either an A level or an equivalent to that. You'd need to check with your ASM about the equivalency, and with an appropriate school leaver certificate. So again, this is going to require discussing with your academic standards manager because, different school certificates have, they may be equivalent to an A level, they may be equivalent to a GCSE, so it's always needs to be checked with your academic standards manager. And the final category for mature students, if they've got 2 years relevant work experience, they still need to show that they have either that maths and English GCSE or those other options that we offered when students don't have that. We still have the English language requirement for the L4DC. So in the case of student who has not progressed directly from one of our level 3s, then they would need to show their English level. So again, it can either be an IELTS score of 5.5, it could be a GCSE or equivalent at a pass, it could be our higher English placement test. So anytime if you are using something that falls outside of our regular entry requirements, you need to be able to justify that with your academic standards manager. So if you're saying something that is not equivalent and you want to check if it's equivalent, you need to be able to justify that with your academic standards manager. On the level 5 diploma in computing, so students who have completed our level 4 diploma in computing can progress onto the level 5, or if they've completed something either locally or internationally that we deem to be the same, to map with it, then they'd be able to advance. Again, you check that with your ASM first. Still have that English language requirement. If they haven't come up from level 4, then you make sure they either have a 5.5 or one of the other options we talked about. Alternatively, like I said, there's other options, the free placement test or some other test that's equivalent to IELTS. So now, because we've got these different pathways, I just want to clarify how you can progress from level 4 to 5, because it depends which version, which specialism that you've done at level 4. So if a student has completed the NCC Education Level 4 Diploma in Computing, then they've got the greatest flexibility. Actually, they can go on to any of our 4 pathways. They can do diploma in computing, they can do computing with business management, they can do computing with cybersecurity, or they can do computing with data science. However, a student who has chosen the level 4 diploma in computing with business management, they have 2 pathways open to them. They can either continue and stick with diploma in computing with business management at level 5, or they might want to try level 5 diploma in computing with cybersecurity. So those are their options there. And I will be sharing these slides with you after the session. So please don't worry, you'll have access to all this information. So assessments, we'll look generally first at assessments. 2 of these you'll be very familiar with already, Global Exam or GX, Global Assignment or GA. What's new this time is the introduction of the multiple choice questions or MCQ. That only applies to the level 3 diploma in computing. Level 4 and 5 do not use MCQs. The MCQs are sometimes classed as local exams and sometimes global exams. So in the case of Digital World and Introduction to Python, Introduction to Programming with Python, for those units, it is classed as a local exam. Therefore, it's treated the way other local exams are. So if you're a centre who, for example, delivers our IFD, you'll be familiar with that. If you haven't delivered that before, then this might be new to you. So if you look on the activity schedule, we'll talk about that in a minute, you will see that we have a local exams week. So that's how it's a bit different to a global exam, that you have a week period, and any time between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. in that local exam week, you can administer the local exams. So you schedule it and you have that local exam. Local exams are also marked by your teachers, the same way the global assignments are, and then you send us a sample of those to be moderated, again, the same way as a global assignment. So that might be new for you as a centre if you have not delivered a programme that uses local exams, but don't worry, your academic standards manager will support you with that as you get closer to the assessment times to explain how that works. For Introduction to Computer Science and for the maths unit, it forms a part of the global exam. So that's quite straightforward, what you're already presumably used to from your other qualifications that you've been delivering. So in terms of the assessment cycles, nothing has really changed. We still have the 4 assessment cycles in a year, and they're still at the same times. With the introduction of this new version, this 2024 version, your first opportunity to register students for any assessments will be autumn 2024. So by all means, you can start teaching now, but you would not be able to register them for any assessments until autumn 2024, which makes sense because you need to have covered the number of teaching hours first before you can actually assess the students. I also want to point out that you cannot mix and match the current version with this new 2024 version. If a student is currently studying on this current version, they need to stay with that. They need to complete the units on that before they can start the new version. So example, I'm studying level 4 DC and I started last year. I need to make sure that I complete, so maybe my final assessments are in summer 2024, and I will complete all my units and get my certificate. Now, when it comes to autumn and I'm starting the new term, you can enroll me into the 2024 version of level 5 DC. But you can't mix and match. You can't start on this version and then think, oh, actually, I'm now going to take some of the units on the new version. You must stick with whatever version you started with. These activity schedules are already available on Quartz Web. So if you haven't looked, please do. When you look at the section with activity schedules, if you just scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the 2024 versions there. In terms of grading, nothing has changed. It's still the case that anything below 40 is a fail. It's still the case that 40 to 59 is a pass, 60 to 69 is a merit, and anything above 69 is a distinction. You can still retake a unit if you fail it, and we still have the 3-year eligibility period. So we're going to have a look now at the program structure. We'll talk generally first. So nothing has changed too much about the delivery of these programs. As you may already know, we at NCC Education, we don't prescribe to you exactly, how your semester is going to look. We give you guidance. So our guidance is that given that we have 12 topics in a unit, we would suggest that you have a semester of, let's say, 15 to 16 weeks, and that you spend the first 12 to 13 weeks doing the teaching of those topics, because that's a comfortable amount of time for you to deliver the teaching for those topics. And then you're leaving yourself 2 to 3 weeks at the end where you can do revision, where the students can be completing assignments, where you can be conducting exams and things like that. So that is our suggestion. And we're also suggesting that your lessons might last 60 minutes, but you know your context, you know your students, you have flexibility on that to have longer lessons, etc. However it works for you. What is important is that the students are getting the correct number of guided learning hours. So that's the part that we are strict about, is that they should have the number of hours that they're entitled to, and that's the kind of thing that your academic standards manager would be checking during annual monitoring, looking at timetables to see that students are getting the correct number of hours. So we'll look now at the level 3 diploma in computing. So this program has had a complete overhaul. So we've got 5 new units basically. So the study and presentation skills, that used to be studying communication skills. We've added presentation skills, so it's now study and presentation skills. We've also reduced the credits, so reduced the teaching time as well. So it's now 10 credits, whereas the previous version was more. We've got mathematical skills for computing, which is the new maths unit. So we've taken out things that we felt were not relevant and added things that we feel is relevant. And then we've got digital world, completely new unit. As it says in the description here, it explores how the world of the 21st century is underpinned by computing technology and how it works together with impacts on society and importance of cybersecurity. We've got Introduction to Computer Science, which did exist before, but we've refreshed and updated the teaching material. And then another new unit is Introduction to Programming with Python. So it used to be Introduction to Programming, but what we've done is we've changed from Visual Basic to Python. We've also increased the credits, therefore the teaching time. So this is what it looks like in terms of qualification time. The 10 credit units, total of 100 hours. The 20 credit unit is a total of 200 hours. So the time with a teacher, the time on the student's timetable is anything that says lectures, tutorials, lab, seminar. And then the assessment and private study, obviously we know that that would not necessarily be in the student's timetable. So that's what your academic standards manager would be checking when they're looking at the timetable, that those hours are being adhered to. And then in terms of assessments, you can see that study and presentation skills is 100% a global assignment. Mathematics skills for computing is 100% exam, 30% of which is made up of the multiple choice questions. Digital world, you've got 70% global assignment and 30% multiple choice question. Introduction to Computer Science, 100% global exam, but 70% of it is, 30% of it is MCQ. And Introduction to Programming with Python, you've got 70% global assignment and 30% MCQ. So as mentioned before, Digital World and Introduction to Programming with Python, those 2 units, their MCQs are actually a local exam, so slightly different way that you administer and mark, etc. Okay, now the level 4 diploma in computing. Let's look at this one. So this time, remember we said it was 120 credits, so you have more units. There are actually 8 units in total that students must complete to achieve the qualification. 5 for the level 4 diploma in computing, 5 of those are core units, and then 3 of them are specialist units. So a total of 8. So they have to do all 8. They don't get any choices in the level 4 diploma in computing. With the level 4 diploma in computing with business management, you have 4 core units, 3 specialists, so everybody must do those, and then they can choose 1 elective. So you've got those 3 choices at the bottom of the table there. Any unit that you see in red is a new unit that did not exist before. And as you can see, the 2 different pathways do share, some common units. So looking more deeply at the units now, so the new one of the new ones is algorithms and mathematical concepts for computing. We can see the assessment method is 60% global assignment and 40% global exam. So anytime you see exam here, it's a global exam, and that's a completely new unit. Computer networks, computer systems and databases, they're not new, but we have updated the teaching and learning materials, updated topics and things like that. And the assessment method for these now will be 60% global assignment and 40% global exam. Another new unit then is front-end web development, and that is going to be 100% global assignment. As you can see in the description, it has replaced DDW. And these are the specialist units now. So the top one there is object-oriented system analysis and design, and that's a new unit. And again, it's 60% global assignment, 40% global exam. Software engineering is also a new unit and 100% global assignment. Then we've got designing and developing object-oriented computer programs, which we've just updated the teaching and learning materials, 100% assignment. The 3 business specialist units at the bottom there, we have not updated yet, so they're the same as they've always been. In terms of materials that you have access to, so you have lecture PowerPoint slides, lecture guides, student guides. Where applicable, you also have tutor and student handouts, as well as sample assessments. So please have a look on the VLE for those. So now looking at the qualification time, they're all 15 credit units, so the total number of hours is 150. And you can see the breakdown there. So anything that says contact time, so that's lectures, tutorials, and a lab and seminar, that's what should be in the student's timetable. And then the rest of it is for private study and assessments. Here we have these other units, the same thing, the breakdown there of contact time versus self-study. And as I said, I will share these slides with you so you can take a look at that for yourselves. So now let's take a look at the level 5 diploma in computing. So as I stated earlier, there are now 4 pathways. Regardless of which pathway, the students must complete 6 units, 4 are core and 2 are electives. But when we say electives, they still need to complete 2 of those. So if we have a look at the level 5 diploma in computing, you can see there's quite a lot of new units there, especially in the electives, plus the mobile app development is new. Level 5 diploma in computing with business management, also lots of new units there, some new on the cybersecurity, and then data science is our new pathway. You can see some new units and some existing units there as well, but we'll go into the detail of the units now. So these are the new units, mobile app development. So it focuses obviously on mobile app developments and technologies that are used for app development. Another new unit, introduction to data science and big data, looks at concepts and techniques in data science and big data analytics, model selection and evaluation, data mining and machine learning. Data analysis with Python is a practical unit that uses Python libraries. We've got IT project management, which focuses on those skills. We've got professional and career development in IT, which focuses on employability, professional attributes and CPD, and back-end web development, which obviously focuses on back-end web development. Right, we've got some existing units, so agile development, analysis, design and implementation, and artificial intelligence. They are the same. We've got the EC Council units, which have not yet been updated, and the business units, which have not yet been updated. But the ones that we have redeveloped and updated are business in IT project, computing project, and network security and cryptography. And here you can see the breakdown again. So lectures, tutorial, seminar, lab, that's time with the teacher, whereas you've got your private study and assessment time as well. And you can take a look at this when I share the slides with you. So in terms of assessment time, assessment types, for the mobile app development, it's 100% global assignment. Introduction to data science and big data is 50% global assignment, 50% global exam, whereas all the other new units are assessed by global assignment. For the existing units, you can see that they are also global assignments. And the redeveloped units, you've got your two project units, which are obviously assignments, and then network security and cryptography is 50% global assignment and 50% global exam. So in terms of progression, hopefully you've already had a look at our What Next brochure, the 2024 to 2025 version, which has all the information about our various universities and institutions that are fully aware of our program and welcome applicants from our applications from our graduates. So the L5 DC and L5 DCBM qualifications, they allow entry onto our top-up qualifications, the computing ones, or a student might want to progress directly to a UK university or international university, in which case they'd be able to join, the final year of that. Again, our What Next brochure could help you in choosing institutions there. Or the L5, if they've completed the L5 DCCS, then they can go on to our top-ups cybersecurity and networking specialism as well. In terms of future ongoing training, we did share with you in our last webinar that we've got a whole year plan of webinars that we'll be providing for centres. I just want to update you on some changes that will be happening with that. So our next session, which is coming up quite soon, looks at types of assessment, and it focuses specifically on the global examination. So we look at, for example, the procedures, the invigilation, the rules, the regulations. So just to let you know that MUNO's date has changed. So if you're one of MUNO's centres, please note that that session is now happening on the 9th of May. Anthony's session will take place next week. And my session will take place on the 30th of April. I'll be sending out the invitation for that shortly later on today. Another more changes are to the session after that, the types of assessment, which again, this time we'll look at the rules and regulations and submissions around global assignments and local exams. So if you're a centre who's not delivered local exams before and you're now doing L3DC, then really good idea to please participate in that session. So the changes there are that Anthony's session will now take place on the 9th of May. MUNO's session will now take place on the 30th of May, and my dates remain unchanged. So in terms of today's topic, if you do have any, want to know anything further, the really good starting point is our qualification unit specification. So on the VLE and on our website, you have access to level 3, 4, and 5. So have a look at that. And then, of course, Anthony, myself, and Muno are available to support in any way with any questions. So that is it in terms of my presentation today. So that we do have a little bit of time. I don't know if anybody has any questions that they wish to put into the chat. Otherwise, please feel free to come with questions either to myself, Anthony, or Muno after the session. Maybe digest what you've seen here and have a look at the slides, and then come back to us with any questions at that point. Be more than happy to answer. So at the moment, I can't see any questions in the chat. Will the presentation be posted? Absolutely, it will. So the PowerPoint slides will be sent to you, and then once the recording is ready, we'll send you either a link or for that as well. So you'll be able to access both of those. Yeah, wonderful. Okay. So thank you very much for your time today, everybody. It's been lovely to see you. We hope that you will attend more and more of these webinars that we are doing. Wish you the very best for the rest of the week. Take care. All the best.